So for this video demonstration, I'm going to be showing you how to make Hellenic holy water, Khernips, and how to use it once it is made. So this first step that we are going to do is we are going to take the water we are going to be using and we are going to boil it. This serves several purposes. The first is that it gets rid of any physical impurities like bacteria or pathogens or anything like that. If you have a filter, you could also run the water through that in combination with boiling it. But for the most part, people likely have safe water, so this may not be as big of a concern. But it does serve another purpose. If you want to add things to it to make your water stronger or more protective, you would add them here because when you boil it, that will infuse whatever you're adding and sort of make it like a tea, like a protective tea. Some things you could add are olive oil, which I have in mine. Salt, definitely add salt if you would like to. You could add some rosemary and bay leaves, which are very important, and we will be using these two later on. You can add some garlic powder, anything like that, or maybe even some sage. If you have any cultural beliefs or any herbs, kitchen stuff in your practice that you view as protective, you can add it to this. This can become more personalized and more specific to you and the way you do things. But adding them in this step will infuse it into the water and give it those properties. As you can see, I have some olive oil and herbs in mine. And also you can combine numerology. For instance, if you view a certain number as being lucky or special to you, you can boil it for that number of minutes to give it more meaning to that. So boiling is a physical thing and a physical way of purifying the water, but it also can have spiritual relevance if you decide to do that. So that is our first step. So feel free to just get it ready and then boil your water. So now that your water has been boiling, I've been letting mine boil for 12 minutes. That's the number I choose to use because of the 12 Olympians and things like that. But whenever you feel that your water has reached the proper boiling time for your level of observance, then you can go ahead and turn it off. And then I would recommend you let it cool for a little bit, but you don't have to. You can skip to the next step. And this next step is the most important. This action is what will make your water Khernips. So if you're going to simplify this right here, step number 2, is the one you need to do. This is the important one that makes water from any old water to Khernips. And what you're going to do is you're going to need rosemary and or bay leaves. I personally recommend using a mixture of the two of them, but for one specific step, I prioritize bay leaf just because I feel like bay leaf is easier to use. So what you're going to do, these two herbs are viewed as very potent, very powerful, and very relevant to the Hellenic tradition. They're the traditional ones you would use for this. So go ahead and I'm going to add some rosemary to mine. But then for this step, I'm going to use bay leaf, and I recommend you all do the same as well. Because what you will be doing is you will be lighting this bay leaf on fire. And then you will need to extinguish the burning leaf into the water. This is the step that makes it holy. It was believed that the essence that would come out of the bay leaf when it was burned would transform the water from regular water to something equivalent to like nectar or ambrosia, make it holy in honor of the gods. You can use rosemary for this or bay leaf, but given the fact that rosemary sticks tend to be really tiny, I recommend for your own safety that you use a bay leaf. So we will be doing that step next. So now that we're at this step, what you're going to do is take a lighter or a candle, whatever it is, and literally set the herb on fire and then drop it into the water. And the smoke that comes out of it and the scent that comes out of it is what is believed to make the water holy and turn it into Khernips. So this is that essential step. If you can't boil it or you can't add stuff to it, that's totally fine. You just need to be able to do this, the burning the bay leaf or burning the rosemary. That is the essential part. But then after this, you pretty much have made your Khernips water. If you want to add more to it, you could. But this is the essential thing that must be done. So just let it cool. If you let it boil for a long time, it can take a really long time to cool, like an hour or so, depending on how much you make. But that is all you need to do for the making part, and next we will be covering how to use it. So once your water is done cooling and you've added whatever you want to it, then you can transfer it from the pot to whatever you want to hold it in. So I have my altar bowl right here that I use to hold Khernips in my altar. So I'll just pour it right into this bowl. Try not to spill it. It might look a little yellow or a little discolored or things like that, depending on what spices you added or if you added oil. That is normal, that is natural. You aren't going to be drinking this, so you don't really need to worry about how it tastes. And then if you have extra, you could dump it outside. You could, what I actually do is I keep a jug full of Khernips, so I'll make big batches at a time and then save the rest for future use, so I don't have to remake constantly. But then you will have it here transferred to your altar bowl. And then once it's in the altar bowl, the important thing here is that this is a clean bowl, so it should be washed and everything. And the water in here is perfectly clean. It has not been contaminated. There is no miasma and things like that. But when you use it, you don't want to just stick your hand into the bowl because your hand has miasma, your hand has germs, things like that. So if you stick it directly into this reserve, it'll get dirty and you'll need to change it out more frequently and it might lose its power. So what you have is the water that you have in this bowl, you want to keep it as clean as possible. So some things you might do is you might cover it at night. I have to do that, so certain things, don't try and drink it. But you could cover it at night, you could move it to a separate location, you could have a closed bowl, or you could just keep some in the fridge and only get it whenever you need. It's up to you. I prefer to have an open one on my altar just so I always have it ready to use, and then I refill it and remake it when necessary. But it's up to you. You just want to keep this bowl clean and not just shove your hands directly into it whenever you want to cleanse. There is a traditional method for cleansing that you can do. No. There's a traditional method for cleansing that you can use that I'm going to show you next. So now I'm here at the altar. I have my bowl of Khernips ready. It's ready to go and I'm ready to use it. So the traditional method to cleanse so that you don't directly dirty the reserve is you're going to take a branch or a twig of some kind, whatever is able you can find, as long as it's made of wood. And then what you'll do is you just literally dip the end of it into the water, sprinkle it onto your hands, and then you rub it water from there. So that way you aren't directly putting your hands into it, but it still gets onto you. It may take a little bit and you have to really do it a few times to get enough water to use. But that is how you would do it. And then if you need to do your face or any other part of your body, same thing. Just dip the branch in and then touch it from there. And another way you can use your Khernips water is if you want to purify spaces, you can do that as well. So what you would do, dip your branch into there, and then just sprinkle it on the floor. Like so. A common word that they will use whenever doing Khernips is they will chant the word Kherniktose, Kherniktose, Kherniktose. And they will chant this when applying Khernips to places like altar spaces or to yourself, to anything you want to do. If you want to add some words to it, make it more like a prayer or a spell, Kherniktose is the word you would use. But that is all for our Khernips demonstration. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.